I'm like, am I supposed to say something?
No.
Like,
Hey,
I'm
we're
just going
live.
to take over.
We're not live. We're recorded, but we're going.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Hey, we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be real, right? Hey,
Exactly.
everyone. It's Lynn Delgadio again. And here with me today is Jenny Gold, founder of Jenny's Gold Standard from the lovely state of Colorado. Hey, Jenny, how are you today?
I'm great, Lynn. Thank you so much for having me on today. By the way, people aren't going to think our state's so great tomorrow when it snows. I didn't even tell you that. I didn't even tell you. It's supposed to snow and rain this week.
Well,
Super
I mean, it depends.
excited.
My cousin Barbara absolutely loves the snow. I mean, I could take it or leave it. But
yeah.
So
That's the times you
Jenny,
just have to take it.
Yep. So yeah, I'm glad to have you here today. And we'll talk about the gold standard a little later. But you've got such a crazy, amazing, incredible, unbelievable story. So I just want you to share. I know you've got a good following, but for the people out there who don't know, it's really important to raise awareness about some of these things. So I'll just let you share what you want to share about who you are and what you've been through, and take it away.
Thank you, Lynn. That's why Lynn and I get around. We don't get around together, but that's why we get along so well. It's because we both have different autoimmune diseases, but similar. And so we get each other. But what I don't get is why I didn't bring the bacon over. Because I have a whole bowl of bacon over there.
Don't you dare wave bacon in front of me. You did that last time and I will never forget it.
Twice now.
Yeah.
Right? So that's always a big winner. Anyway, so I just wanted to speak with Linda again today because we do have a lot in common. And I was in corporate America working for Fortune 500, 250, 110 corporations, and small businesses too. And when you have a pretty serious illness and you're trying to hide it, it's very stressful. And at some point, they're going to find it out. And most of them are cool about that. But at some point, here comes COVID and they'll let you go if they have to, right? It's not that they don't love you and it's not that they don't want to work with you. It's more, here comes a pandemic and this is what happens. So like Lynn's doing what I'm doing, we're starting up our own companies and things like that. I've learned so much from corporate America, the different companies that I worked for on the different accounts and everything, as has Lynn. She's doing quite well, actually. Right, Lynn? But so it's great to be able to pull from my experience of the past into now and into the future. So and a lot of this has to do with just being yourself and being strong in your own body and everything, and telling yourself you're going to be okay, and meeting people like Lynn and other people and interviewing them. And that's what I'm doing right now with my company. But I will say that corporations and the companies I have worked for have been very fair to me. And so anybody that works for me with the first company that I started with, Gold Standard Creative, I'm very understanding with them. And I understand that if they're sick or if they have something going on, I'm still going to keep them and hire them, for that job or whatever.
Yeah. And I have fibromyalgia just pretty much under control. For the most part, I can tell when I'm having becoming symptomatic, and then I can correct. It took me some years to, figure that out, but you've been dealing with something for a lot longer. And when did this, can you go a little deeper as to what it is and how you learned about it?
Absolutely. So I know that I was bit by a tick in Mexico in 1989. I was on spring break with my sorority sisters, and Lyme disease wasn't anything anyone was talking about in 89. But I started losing my eyesight. I got sick right when I got back from Mexico. And my parents, I was living with them at that point, just because I was going to be home for a semester or a trimester for an internship, my first internship. And my mom's said to my dad, she never throws up. She must have had a lot to drink in Mexico. My dad said, probably. He goes, we've seen her in your green, we've seen you right before the big football games at Michigan State. And we see you on your bed going, looking kind of weird and all green looking. Seriously, because I had been out the night before drinking so much. And so they didn't think that's what they thought was going on, that I just had too good of a time in Mexico. But what they didn't know, they said, I don't know why I just got sick. I don't throw up. And my mom's like, you didn't even like to throw up when you were a kid, when you were sick. So that was the first thing that happened to me. And then about 2 or 3 months later, I had a migraine for a month. I didn't even tell you about that, Lynn. So I had a migraine for a month. And what did the doctor say to me, Lynn? That's why I was talking. That's why I said, when the doctor told you had pancreatic cancer, which you did not have, they're like, you could have a brain tumor. So you're 19, you're like, oh my God, I'm dying of a brain tumor. And you have no idea. You're like, okay. So you get a CAT scan, you're waiting to get the symptoms, but whatever it's called, the scan back. You're going, well, I'm going on my second internship at the Kennedy Center. I don't have time for this. Right. So I went to the first internship in Michigan, second internship at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and moved into a row house, didn't know anybody, and just had a great time, but started getting worse and worse. Somebody read my palms and everything else. And she's like, do you have some sort of illness or something? Because you have ridges on your fingernails. And I was like, no. So that's kind of the telltale sign that maybe this had gone back before Mexico.
Ridges on your fingernails?
Yeah, so if you have ridges, that they're not flat, your fingernails aren't flat.
Oh.
There's ridges. Yeah, that's kind of a sign that you have an illness, but you just might not know what it is. So so I was like, okay, maybe. And I'm at the Kennedy Center, and my right leg starts getting this numbness that would go down really fast on my leg. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't seem right. And so one of the people that I was working with at the Kennedy Center said, hey, go see my doctor. This older gentleman, the kind that has all the books that are like dusty as all get out, kind of. He's been practice probably since he was like 20 or 25, or went through a lot, not law school, but medical school and stuff. He was like 90. He goes, I think you just need a bedboard underneath your mattress, because I had one of those really cool old beds like in Georgetown. I thought it was cool. It's just springs or whatever and a mattress, right?
Okay.
I'm thinking, okay, that might help. It helped for a little bit, but it didn't help. So the reason I'm telling everyone this is because Lyme disease is so hard to diagnose. I went for 2 more years before they found out what was wrong. This one doctor, I guess when they finally found out, they thought I had MS. They gave me steroids for my eyes. I got really big from the steroids. I'm living in DC again for my 3rd internships. And I actually had to leave in the middle of the summer because it was so hot and I can't deal with heat and things like that very well. So backing up to the MS diagnosis when I was younger, and in college, and they didn't know it was Lyme. A doctor at Dow Chemical that worked with my dad said, I really think she has Lyme disease. And I'm like, what's that? Wow. He said, well, there's a doctor 20 miles from here. Maybe you should see him. And my mom got me in there right away. They gave me a list of 30 symptoms or 31 symptoms. I had 28. And that doctor was like, and they only did urine tests then. They didn't do blood work. So I had to pee in like three, those containers, put them in the freezer, take them to the doctor's office. They had to send them frozen to California to hygienics. And it took 3 times of doing that for me to test positive. But what he did do when I had the 31 or the 28 symptoms, he put me on Biaxin immediately in the ear right here where I had the deer tick behind this ear. The whole ear broke out in blisters. This part of my head got super hot. So he said, yep, that's where you were bit. And that's where your rash was if you had the rash. Now, only like 18, 19, maybe 20% of people that get Lyme disease actually have a rash. So I want people to know that, because it doesn't mean just because you're bit means and you don't have the rash and they never found the rash, it does not mean that you don't have Lyme disease. So that's important for people to know.
Wow. And I think a lot of people they associate Lyme disease with like Connecticut, Massachusetts,
Yeah.
like certain regions of the country.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't even think of Mexico. I mean, I used to work all over Mexico, all over the country. And
Mhm.
I mean, and I've been in some really, yeah, jungle type areas. And okay, so they figured it out.
Yeah.
That was back in what, like 1990 something now we're
It
talking?
was like 90, it was 91, I think, when they finally figured out what was wrong. And
But
and
you're
that
still dealing
doctor,
with it today.
yeah, and that
Oh,
doctor actually put me on IV antibiotics, and I would travel around the country for PRSSA because I'm a national officer for that. I was at the time. These
what?
little a national
For,
officer for the Public Relations Student Society of America.
okay. Okay.
So I was the East Central District Director. They're like, that girl's sick as all get out. And I'm like, but I can do it. I ran against all these other people that are like, well, we can do it too. And I'm like, no, I can do it. So I would fly around the country with these baseball looking things that are filled up. I guess they're like almost like a balloon inside this baseball looking thing with the IV coming out of it. And I walk around with this thing around the house or around a hotel room or whatever I had to do, hooked up to it. And I would take them on the plane with me. Now, who can like take syringes right now on a plane?
Right.
And vials of like heparin and everything else. My little red igloo cooler. Eyes really cool. Everybody else wanted to be like me. They're like, well, why can't I have one of those? I'm like, I don't think you want one of those. But yeah, so I just kept going and going, and I ran for student council office, a position to be the president of the student council for the communications college in Michigan State. And they called my parents and said, she's not even enrolled right now. Because I had to drop out of school for a year. I didn't even know who I was. And they're like, I didn't even know my name half the time. They're like, she cannot run the student council position for the communication school and not be at Michigan State. I'm like, yes, I can. They're like, no, you can't. So I had to get on the phone to the school and they're like, Miss Jennifer Gold, you cannot have that position. I'm like, but I won. They're like, it doesn't matter.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
all right. So I have so many questions.
Sorry. I know.
No,
Well,
no,
I just kept going on and on. And
no,
the
no,
point
that's
is,
okay. I'm
yeah,
listening. I'm like, I mean, I don't think people understand like the damage that this disease can really, it just wreaks havoc.
yeah,
And I want to, maybe we'll put some Lyme disease resources in the
yeah.
when
I
we
think
put
that'd
this
be
out
great.
there,
Thank
because
you.
yeah,
Yeah,
because I think there's a lot of people walking around that have Lyme disease and they have no idea. Maybe they've been diagnosed with
right.
fibromyalgia or,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something other chronic fatigue syndrome or something. Um,
Yeah.
so
Unfortunately, yeah, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, like we talked about before, in your situation, a lot of the doctors, they're like, well, we can't figure out what's wrong with you. So you have chronic fatigue and you have fibromyalgia because you have aches and pains in your joints. But I never had joint pain. I never had muscle pain. So mine was more neurological. And that's why they're always going down the MS road with me. But then they're like, oh my God, like you have all these co-infections too. So, I mean, I've seen doctors all over the world for this. And I go to a convention, they're like, oh, you're Jenny Gold. We know who you are. Isn't that great? It's not great.
no,
Isn't great. But yeah,
for that reason.
yeah, it's not great.
Um,
But I
so
did end up in LA. That was my last internship. So now I was sick as a dog, but I was like, I can do it. But I also I had to get out of school for a year at a 2.5. And I said, but Dad, Bill Clinton has a 2.5. He goes, yeah, that's not a good thing to aspire to. I'm like, yes, it is. I went back after a year of antibiotics and everything else as a 4.0 student. He goes, wow, you could have done that sooner. I'm like, The point of that
wow,
is that our cat had it too. We didn't know that our cat had it until it got really, really sick.
wow,
So did I
wow,
get it going? That's why I keep saying, well, going way back, I could have
yeah,
had it way before Mexico. I could have gotten in boarding school when I went camping in the UP of Michigan. I mean, there's a lot of different situations where I could have gotten this. And I didn't know how I was getting so dizzy when I was dancing because I was a dancer from H4 and I was like doing a pirouette or something. I'm like, why am I so off balance? Like I had no idea.
well, thank God you finally got the right diagnosis. So
Right.
what do I want to ask couple things, because I want to talk about Jenny's gold standard too, which is related to this other question of what are you doing to help you cope these days, which I know that's part of it. But like what do you do? What's your treatment? What are you doing?
What I don't do is send Lynn an email in the middle of the night saying, guess what? Ben and Jerry's, they have a gluten-free and was it gluten-free and dairy-free option now. She's like, Marianne was like, she's a big capital NO. And I was like, okay, but I didn't get anything from you. I was like, I thought you were going to bring that up sooner. That you can't have that. So I know, right? So I am working with Lynn right now.
It and I said, nope, you can't have that.
But I was like, what about the caramel chocolate fish food one?
Don't they have a bacon flavor?
I thought that they did.
I don't know. I don't eat ice cream really, but somebody needs to make like a chocolate bacon ice cream.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know. Well, you had the bacon dipped in chocolate, you said the other day when we were talking to Mark Lee. I was like, you did not have that. You did?
Yeah.
So
now listen, you guys, for you guys who don't know that I never ate, I'm sure I had it as like a young child. I'm sure I did. But then I had spent my whole life without bacon until it was 2016 after my surgery. And somebody like, I don't even know why it came into my world, but I think somebody made me dinner or something. I was like, oh my God. Believe how
but you said you woke up or something. She woke up in the hospital and she's like, I want ice cream, I want a steak, I want bacon. I was like, wow. The nurses, they went to nurse's desk. She didn't even know where she was, by the way, you guys, I'll just tell you. And I didn't even know Lynn then, but I'm just going to tell you her story. So she went to the nurse's station and she's like, I thought I was in a dorm room, but kind of looks like a hospital. So who are you guys? And they were like, you're on a lot of drugs right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I want bacon.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
Bacon. I wanted steak and ice cream. And
Yeah.
I think it was because I had just lost a lot of blood and because I wanted a rare steak. I wanted a nice, bloody, juicy slab of dead animal.
You were vegan. Weren't you vegan then?
Yeah. That's the thing. And I didn't even drink milk. I don't want to do a lot of dairy. So it's like my body telling me like, you just had your bones drilled. Like you need, I don't know. It was just like
it's time.
Information. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to you.
I know. I'm sorry. I just love telling your stories too. They made me laugh for a minute when I started to get sad. I'm like, no, I like to tell your story. But I know, right? But yeah, Ben and Jerry's, they did send her that.
But okay, Ben and Jerry's, let's talk about Jenny now. Ben and Jerry, go away for now.
Ben and Jerry, if you guys want to promote and give us some money for our podcast, both of ours, it would be awesome. Hashtag Ben and Jerry's. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
What an amazing pitch that was. We got to work on that. So
I hear it on Brian all the time.
Standard. Tell everybody what that's about, how it's helped you, how you got in that line of work.
So I actually, when I moved back to Colorado from California, I was given a business card for this gentleman saying, hey, can you please help him? This guy's going to be at the Indo Expo and he has his booth and he doesn't know what to do. And he goes, I met him at the Jewish Chamber of Commerce. I'm like, I don't go there because I'm not Jewish, but that's okay. But I just moved here from California. I get it from LA, right? Said I totally get it. I can help him. And I met so many people at the Indo Expo and I met all these MJ people. He had like trinkets for marijuana grows and things like that, stickers, gold. I think they were gold coins. That's what he said they were. So gold coins, all these things that you wanted to sell at ski resorts. I'm like, okay. And I left the booth for a little bit. I went and sat for a while at the National Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And I didn't even know, never heard of it, nothing. And I'm like, can I sit in your chair just for a second? They're like, okay, but you have to sell these things. I'm like, all right. So here I am selling memberships from the National Cannabis Chamber of Commerce and no idea what's going on. So the owner of the National Chamber of Commerce keeps walking back and forth like this. And I can say this about him. Looks like he was from the mafia. He did. He had on this shark looking suit and everything. I was like, oh, I'm like, who is that guy? They're like, he's the owner of the National Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. So I'm like, what's his name? He told me his name. I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, do you know who I am? He goes, no. I'm like, do you care who I am? Because I'm taking people's money, and I'm trying to tell them about your cannabis chamber of commerce. I have no idea what it is. He's like, I'll just keep doing that. I'm like, okay. But you won't. But do you know who I am? So I give him my name. I said, I'm Jenny Gold. He goes, oh, okay. I'm like, you won't forget my name. We became almost like best friends after that. And all of a sudden I met all these people by accident in the the Indo Expo. And that's how I got into this industry. And at that point, I already had not Jenny's Gold Standard, but Gold Standard Creative in my marketing firm. And I was working with real estate agents and, other startup companies and things like that. And I met these people that needed websites and that had their own grows and their new little doodads and stuff like that. And so I just started helping these companies. And I was like, should I tell my parents? So my parents would have been like, what's that all about, right? But I ended up getting very involved and ended up having a business partner for a short period of time. We ended up in Phoenix, in the National Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was like a national expo or whatever, or convention.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said, hey, I see that you have a cane. I was using a cane at that point, part-time, if I had to, like at a big thing like this or a big event. And they're like, would you like some of this tincture under your tongue? And I'm like, what's that? I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. And they're like, no, it's going to help you. I went from walking 100 to 200 steps a day to 5,000 steps that day.
Wow.
Walked all around Phoenix, went to parties, like went to 2 different bars that were packed with people. I mean, it was crazy. So I met all these people that were influencers, and I met some NFL players. That's when they came out. Didn't come out that way, but came out they were using MJ and CBD, which I was still like, I just don't know what the CBD stuff is. But okay. They're like, have you tried it? And I'm like, yeah, but I just looked at my phone. I'm like, yeah, I just walked like 5,000 steps with that stuff. They wanted me to get up on the stage just speaking. I'm like, about what? They're like, your story. I'm like, I don't have a story. They're like, but you do have a story, but I don't know what my story is. So like, you'll figure it out and then you'll do it with me next time. Well, this NFL player, I don't think he'll remember who I am. All I know is that he wanted to have a cane fight with me. And I was like, dude, I made my arm like all the way up here. And I'm like, barely, I was like hitting his wrist because he was so tall. And I'm like, why do you have a cane? And he said, because I need new knuckles, I need new wrists, shoulders, and knee. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good. He was like, well, what's wrong with you? Why do you have a cane? I'm like, I have Lyme disease. He's like, oh, you're in way worse shape than me.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. People don't understand this. It can be such a devastating illness. And even like getting the right kind of treatment. I have a friend, it took her, I think it's 5 years before they even found which antibiotic or which whatever was going to work for her. And she was in bad shape. And, I have another friend who was at death's door. And no one could help him. And it's just got to be, you need a really strong mindset, right? And mindfulness practice, because it can be so isolating. Like, if people don't understand, people don't really have any understanding, right?
Yeah. I already had 2 breakdowns today. I'll just admit it. But it is, because I'm just sitting here going, why aren't these doctors calling me back, telling me about my MRI results? Like, you're like, why am I going to get all these tests done every other week right now? And nobody's calling me back with the results. I guess I'm not dying.
Well, and to be, it's got to be frustrating for doctors too, because especially like with autoimmune disorders, a lot of them have like similar, and how many autoimmune diseases are there? There's so many, and a lot of the symptoms mimic each other, and it's just
that's exactly it.
It's tough. But
they're like, you might have lupus, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go again.
Yeah.
Right, test me for lupus again. Just charge Medicare, because that's what I have. If you're sick enough at my age to have Medicare, then there's a problem, right? So, it's not something you want to mess around with. But as Lynn and I were talking about the other week, it's really hard because everybody wants to help you, but a lot of times you don't want the help because they're not really helping you. They're causing more distress than anything else.
Yeah.
And they get angry with you and you're like, why are you getting angry with me? I'm the one that's like not doing well. So, yeah, sorry to go down there. That was a
No,
little
that's it.
scroll.
I was
That's a
just thinking in
scroll
my,
move.
I was just thinking in my little noggin up here, that, I want to have you back because this is only like a short little, I want to go into like more depth
Yeah.
about what you've gone through and about Lyme disease and really do something, where we can
Yeah.
really show people, because it's so misunderstood. All right. So quickly,
Hey,
about
Lynn,
Jenny's
one more
goals.
thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really think I should come back on in May because May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. So
Perfect.
that is, yeah, so that's a big one for the industry of Lyme disease. Unfortunately, it is an industry. And we didn't mention that is a pandemic. It's in every single country, but so is COVID, right? But how'd they come up with a vaccine so quickly for that, but they can't do it for Lyme? When they did, people got Lyme disease from it and they had to test it for 7 years first.
Yeah. Yeah. So much.
Yeah.
So much.
That's all I'll say.
I
That's
can
all I'll
say
say
about
about
that.
our current pandemic. Yeah, we're gonna move on.
Yeah. All right. So
We're gonna move
Jen,
on.
where can people find you and where can they get your products and try your, do you want to say a little something about your, like, any, is there any products in like
And I
particular that
I
you,
never even said that I ended up getting into the CBD side of it because that's what really helps me. If I smoke, anything with THC, if it's too high with THC, I'm like totally couch locked and I'm like the dumbest person ever. So my friends that write marketing plans and a book and this and that, clean their entire house, I'm like, yeah, that's not me. I'm like, that's a great movie. Or I want to say something to you guys, but I'm saying it in my head, but I can't get it out. So
Yeah.
for me, the CBD works a lot better, but I can't promise that any one topical or oil or anything will work for you. You know what I mean? It's that we can't do that. We can't say
so
that it's going to work
individual?
like Tylenol or Motrin or hashtags to those two if people need to take them. But and you can underwrite our podcast too. Hashtag Motrin. Hashtag Tylenol. So anyway, but yeah, so I have 6-7 different companies that I'm repping right now. And I have write-ups on the companies on my website, which is Jenny's, is JENNYS gold.com. So it's jennysgold.com. And I do have reviews with the different companies that I'm repping right now. I have everything from CBD coffee to CBD oral care to, which that company's oral, to tinctures, to salves, to everything you can imagine, but I do not have any THC products. There is one company that has below the 0.03% THC in their on their tinctures, which you put under your tongue, but everything else I carry has no THC in it. Well, one other one just too that they have 10 different. Oh, maybe I show them. I'll show you guys really quick.
Yeah.
Really cool bottle. Well, a really cool packaging, right?
It's
take
pretty.
this off. It's called Calm and opens. Oop, see, this is always, I should know how to do this. Yeah, it's really cool. I know, right?
What an
It opens like
ambassador.
that.
Oh,
And
how
isn't that
pretty.
cool? Yeah, so
Wow.
this one's for Calm. It has all the different things that may help me with. These are all the different terpenes that are in there. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It's really cool. So this one, it may help. It may be an allergenic, 100% right? Anti-anxiety, antibacterial, anti-depression, anti-inflammatory, anti-insomnia, and anti-tumor. So they can't promise any of that. They've just seen that their products have helped with that. But there are 10 different types of that company, Solar. But anyway, if you go to Jenny's Gold Standard on Facebook, JNY''S, then Gold and then Standard, you'll see all the companies that I'm repping, and you'll see exact link that you need to click and the percentage you'll get off. So you're going to have to either put in the percentage, not the percentage, but the code word or whatever, the coupon code. Yeah, at checkout.
Cool.
And you guys can totally get in touch with me through that site. my personal site, Jenny Gold. I'm on LinkedIn. I have all of my videos with all the companies I'm repping. And what I'm doing now is I'm helping companies, not companies, but people that want to talk about their autoimmune diseases. Like Lynn. I don't know if she wants to talk about it, but it helps other people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have, I do have integrated health doctors, I have homeopathic doctors, all sorts of dietitians. I talk about that. Dietitian, not right now, but dietitians, people that can help you with your gym workout or just any type of workout, yoga instructors, Reiki instructors, things like that. So you guys can learn more about meditation.
Very
So I'm
important
gonna have all
right
this
now.
Yeah, very important, right? Because 2020 was one hell of a year, right? But 2021, it's moved into 2021 also. And there's a lot of anxiety over a lot of things that are coming out right now.
Yeah, a lot.
So,
A lot. Well, thank you so much. All right, jennysgold.com with no apostrophe, or Jenny's Gold Standard with an apostrophe on
yeah,
Facebook
and LinkedIn,
and LinkedIn.
and Instagram.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. You're a delight to have. And
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to have you back in May. And but I may have my podcast launched by then. I'm not sure, but
Well, me too. Because mine will be live by then.
nice.
I'm like, from my lips to God's ears, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or the universe's ears, because I'm sitting here going, I'm having a hard time with that StreamYard thing, but I'm gonna get it down.
Who knows?
Get it down. I know, right?
Well, thank you so much. And I'll look forward to talking with you really soon. All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Lynn. Love you. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, girls. Bye. Bye.